Woo child, why did I come out here to you in this extreme sunlight? But hey, anyway, welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to talk about something that is quite controversial in the expat community as people are moving to Africa. And it's quite interesting because I have contacts, acquaintances, business connects that are in Ghana. But on the flip side, I also see that quite a lot of people are frustrated with Ghana right now because they're like, hey, they just suspended our citizenship applications. They just did this, they just did that. Now it's 2,000 something dollars to get their citizenship. Maybe people paid more before, maybe people paid less. But I'm going to tell you what my thoughts are because, you know, I'm typically a little bit controversial. I tend to just go against the grain and not really see things how everybody else sees them. And in this specific context, the basis for that is the fact that I study citizenship by investment programs, residency programs, not just in Africa, but across the world. I study how these changes shift dramatically in time. And I want to tell you today why Ghana's doing that is actually not an issue at all. You should have been expected that. I would have expected it previously to this point. I'm surprised it actually went on that long in the way that it was given out, because Ghana, they have been issuing citizenship since 2016, which, you know, is about 10 years. Now, there's a lot of countries out there that, like Portugal, if you were to stay there for 5 years, they were going to give you citizenship. But just last year, they had extended it to you had to live in the country of Portugal for 10 years. And, you know, I just don't remember a lot of the expats saying, you know, Portugal's getting over on us, Portugal this. Maybe some of the European ones felt like that. I'm not sure. Maybe you can look at their videos and find out. But the fact of the matter is, when you are dealing with governments, businesses, economics, people get to change their business and their government requirements in the way that they want to. What happened in 2016 does not have to stay till 2030 and 2036. It doesn't have to be cemented into the ground specifically for you. Now, you may not want to hear that, or you may be like, yes, girl, you're absolutely right, because that's just totally unrealistic to expect things to stay the same for that long. Now, my other case study in this is Thailand. Now, if you have traveled to Thailand, if you have been to Thailand, if you have family who has been to Thailand like I do and my husband does, we have family on both sides that have lived in Thailand, you're gonna know Thailand actually changes their visa requirements like every 60 to 90 days, like of every single calendar year. And so when you see all of these complaints and people like, well, I don't like that Ghana just now decided that they want to tell people what the requirements are. I think it's a great thing for Ghana and for the diaspora to be clear and transparent and not just be like up in the air, like you're not sure, like you have to be there just in a specific time. I think those days are over, while also recognizing you are in a World War III era. Don't get it twisted just because the sun's out and the flowers are out and, you know, it's cool and it's peaceful. We are in a World War III era. In times past, like 2016, 2020, we were not in a World War III era. We were in an era of lockdowns. We were in an era of just simplicity. We were in an era of everything was peaceful in the world. But now, people who you cannot vet coming into your country is a liability. And one way to slow those applications down, because Ghana, quite frankly, has such an influx. Anytime you have demand that high in your business, you typically are going to create some resistance and barriers so you can slow it down a bit and attract the most ideal client for your firm. Ghana's doing exactly that. They've had an influx of people that were historically always able to get that citizenship or would just come into the country and just be there. But if they want to streamline that and have that slow down a bit so they can actually assess and see, okay, are you investing in the country, or are you just gonna be here, then you're gonna fly back, then you're gonna be here, then you're gonna be somewhere else, then that is their prerogative, okay? Point blank period. That's their prerogative. They have the right to do so. Now, on the flip side, you also have the right to say, you know what, maybe I want to look at Botswana. Maybe I want to look at Kenya. Maybe I want to look at Thailand, because they just did a brand new, I'm telling you, Thailand switches like so much. They just did a brand new one where if you were paying 12 months of rent in Thailand, you have a residence that you can renew every year indefinitely. Now, for some people, that will be great. For others, it won't be great. It just depends who you are. Then you have countries like Rwanda and Botswana and Mauritius and Seychelles that have 5 to 10 year visas. They're not 1 to 2 years. They're residence programs. They're actual residence programs, not digital nomad visas, are longer. They're 5 to 10 years off the bat. In some cases, renewable to 20 years. And so understand every country. I want you to think of every country like their own business. Every country operates differently. Every country has a different culture, a different system, different values. And so every single country in Africa and beyond is going to have their own requirements. You even see this across Asia. In the Philippines, they actually have a process where you can be an indefinite tourist and just renew your tourist visa for 3 years straight while being in the country before you have to leave for at least, I think it's like 90 days or something of that nature. And that's unheard of anywhere else in the world. I've never heard of that anywhere else except the Philippines. And so you're gonna have to come to this humble understanding that the world does not revolve around you, okay? The world does not revolve around entitled American mindsets. The world does not revolve around Americans that just feel like I should be able to go here, here, and there and do whatever I want and everything be super easy for me because I'm an American. That is the old way of thinking, and it's quickly turning off the nations. The nations aren't really interested in that. They want reciprocity. They want, okay, what are your values? What are my values? Where can we come together on this? That is what the nations want. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of Ghana. I don't really ever see myself living there for any substantial time, although I used to when I was in America. Then I took a pivot with my husband and my family and went to East Africa and Southern Africa instead. But regardless, I have no desire to be there, no desire to have citizenship there. But at the same time, that's their right. That's their boundary. That's something that they can enforce. And they will be enforcing. I mean, just because you're frustrated with it doesn't mean that they won't be enforcing it. So you have that choice to say, okay, what do I want to do? What works for me? Let me look at other citizenships and residencies programs. Do I need citizenship right now? Do I want to be in a country that's on that list of the 75 countries that were blocked from entering America where they can start doing reciprocity? I know I was talking to a friend a couple weeks ago who was in Uganda and left Uganda because once those trade wars started to pop off, the Ugandans treated Americans horrible. And from what I'm seeing, they've been doing that. And so this is why it's so important to come into something like the Mature Adult Intensive, where you are researching diligently to see the geopolitics behind these moves. The moves that we make as expats are completely 100,000% geopolitical. Whether you're someone that's like, well, I don't want to watch the news, I don't want to really understand, I just want to like sit in this hole and be comfy and cover my eyes and be blind, well, you should probably stay in America because you should not do that when you're coming outside to different countries. You should assess your options. Just like if you were going to purchase a car, purchase a home, you would look at different areas. You would look at different cars, you would assess your options, you would see what would be the best long-term investment for your family. You need to approach expat life the same way. This is also why I don't use terms like repatriation. We do not use that term on our channel. It's just, I think it really muddies everything and makes you think that there's some kind of special like red carpet specifically for you. Truly, in the context of the word repatriation, typically around the globe, when people are referring to repatriation, they're really referring to their grandparents or their parents who were in that land, or they used to actually live in that land and they had family, very recent history. Here's the issue that I have with this term that's like repatriation is that it's not factual. It's like your ancestors were removed much more than just your grandma and your mom and your dad. They were removed about 4 to 5 times, if not more, from the African continent. And so you truly are an expat, an immigrant, a traveler, somebody that's moving to a new system. You don't remember the language, you don't remember the tribe, but if you go through African ancestry, then you would know your tribe like I do, because on my mother's side, I'm Timne of Sierra Leone, okay, gotta represent. Also have some Luya in Kenya from my dad's side, okay? It is what it is. But you have to understand the global context. This is why it's so good to do research, even if you didn't want to live in a Spain, in a Portugal, in a Thailand. It's good to understand how systems are ran throughout this globe and to compare them to the countries that you want to live in Africa, in Oceania, and wherever that you want to live, in South America, wherever you want to go. Because at the end of the day, Americans are going to have to come to the hard understanding the world does not revolve around them. I think Americans are already having a hard time with that. They're already like, man, we can't just go to places we want to go. Not everybody is visa free. There is more scrutiny, as there would be for certain nationalities and peoples when they come into America. And so that is the tone and the way of the world. That's the way the world is going right now. It's best if you just peacefully accept it. It's best if you're humble, and if you want to be there, then you go through whatever process they lay out. And if you don't like the process, which I don't blame you, because I don't like the process, it's very unclear to me. I like straightforward processes, things that are written down. After all, I am a 9-year entrepreneur, marketing specialist, and a writer. I really like to see things just laid out perfectly clear. For me personally, if it's not perfectly clear, it's too much of a risk to me. It's too much guessing. I don't like to do guessing games. I don't like to do like, oh, well, let's just see how they're feeling. Like, nobody has time for that, in my opinion. And at the same time, Ghana has the right to be more transparent about that process, to slow down and assess and say, okay, how can we structure this a little bit better? And again, your third case study would actually be Sierra Leone itself, because Sierra Leone, like Ghana, is one of the only African countries that even issue citizenship. But Sao Tome and Botswana have just now joined them, but their citizenship process is not based on ancestry. It's totally based on investment. Ghana is saying, hey, we want you to pay $2,100. That's probably the cheapest citizenship that you will find, like, on earth, period. Just to be honest with you, it's probably the cheapest, most affordable one that you will find on planet Earth. Because I'm telling you, Botswana, they're like, hey, that's going to be about 90,000. Sao Tome and Principe, hey, it's going to be about 75,000 for that passport. If you go to, I don't know the rates in Europe, I'm not really sure what their citizenship price itself is like, but I'm sure it's probably more than $2,000, okay? And so that's just being fair and saying, you know, that's actually not a crazy rate. Now, if there are people that had paid more than that, that had paid like 5K, 7K, I understand why they would be frustrated. And that's the risk that you take when you go to a place and you go to a process that does not really do transparency in their immigration or in their business or in their political process. You don't have anything that's just like straightforward. That is a risk you take when you see and you go to their websites and they haven't been updated since 2019, or it's like kind of like you're not sure what this is even talking about, versus some of these countries like Namibia, Botswana, all these places have economic development bank websites that you can actually sit and look at and assess and decide, as they should, I think, and decide. South Africa does as well. Their process is pretty clear out online as well. Kenya even has their portal for their digital nomad visa that you can pull up. I've looked at it because your girl loves digital nomad visas, and I also love the Swahili coast, and so, you know, still remember much of Swahili, and so it's a really interesting one to look at. But this is what it's like to be an expat. I just want to help you change your mindset so that you won't be so stressed, so that you can have better outcomes, so that you can make the best decision for your family. And remember, the first country that you go to in Africa or in the world does not have to be the last country, okay? It's not like, oh, I had to choose this and I had to make it work and I had to live here for 90 years. Like, humanity was never meant to be like that. We are not trees with roots stuck in the ground to where we cannot move and do as we please. We are the exact opposite. Humanity has been known to travel for much of civilization. Just travel, roam around, probably not across the world, but typically within a region. Travel around a region, see what you like, get different residencies. I was just talking to a previous client yesterday who I hadn't heard in a while, and she said, yeah, I'm looking at getting another retirement permit over near the Mascarene Islands. You know, I have a great one in Zambia. Zambia does a great program, but I'd like to also get another one. That's a great mindset to have, because they're simple to get out here in Southern Africa. And so it's like, hey, if you just want to have like a house here, a house there, or have investments here, investments there, or just like you want to chill here, then chill there, then that is your prerogative to do so. But I think that's it for this video. Check out the links in the description. The Mature Adult Intensive begins next Monday, February 8th at 2 p.m. Eastern. Only 50% occupancy is left, so you do want to book that right away if you are interested. And I'll see you in the next video. But let me know what you think. Even if you disagree with me, let me know in the comments. Maybe I'll read it. Shalom, shalom.